Welcome to News Game Plus. I'm Dermie and I'm here with New Game Plus executive producer Jason O'Callaghan. As usual, welcome. We're almost Christmas. Oh, wait.
Almost Christmas.
Did I do two talk-ins because one's on Facebook?
What?
Oh, we've got a Facebook comment already.
Yeah.
We're watching.
The year that wasn't is the only way,
Yeah, we're recording live on Facebook and if you're listening to us on iTunes and so on. So look, first thing I want to ask you, because there's been a lot of... You've played Cyberpunk 2077 a lot, right? I haven't got to it yet because I've been flat out trying to get work out of the way before.
You'll enjoy it, you'll like it. I still think.
Now, last week you did give a pretty detailed rundown of the story. Now, since then I've been busy reading all sorts of stuff, and let's recap. It's not on this. Sony have taken off the Sony store to buy online.
Microsoft will still sell it.
Microsoft are offering refunds. Okay, now look. All of this stuff doesn't gel with what... Now, if it's a buggy mess, how the hell did you give a review of it basically last week? I'm confused.
So, I'm playing it on Series X. So, a lot of the people who are complaining bought it on base Xbox and base PS4, right? So, a lot of the console complaints are coming from that. Now, I have it on Xbox Series X, right?
Yep.
I've played 65 hours? Something like that. It has to be close.
Is it more or less buggy than Valhalla?
If you treat it like a very pretty Bethesda game, but slightly less buggy, that's what it is. It's New Vegas for the modern era.
Are people forgetting how buggy Bethesda games
yes.
are?
Yeah, they are. And I think the biggest problem is it was already delayed, and the reason that they said was that they wanted to get the console versions up to spec. They would have been smarter delaying the console versions and putting it to next year, right? Because I know one of the shareholder groups is trying to sue them now for bad corporate governance. It's like the only reason they released it for Christmas was because of you pricks. Like,
oh yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Now people are going online saying, but gamers demanded a release, or someone said on the New Game Plus page, the internet said no, it was investors and shareholders and management, and what they wanted to do is they needed it out by Christmas because that's the big buying season. The other one they wanted that console generation crossover.
Yep.
Because if they had have just launched it on the PS5 and the Xbox Series, the numbers to sell it to were lower. Let's be honest about it. It wasn't gamers or the internet. It was investors and stockholders.
Yeah.
I don't know how CDPR is set up, but
so that was weird to me because I would have thought CDPR would be kind of a self-owned company similar to like say Valve or whatever, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's got external shareholders, so it must be publicly floated somewhere.
Well, I don't know. It's a Polish company in Poland. I won't dwell on this, but I actually do think being a Polish company look, if you compare to the treatment of Hello Games after No Man's... Because No Man's Sky is a similar situation.
No Man's Sky was worse because not only did the devs lie about the actual content of the game wasn't ready.
Yeah. Now, the treatment generally in media, be fair to say, Hello Games was way more sympathetic. I reckon some of this is to do with there's a little bit of of a Polish dev thing here. Just like you see with the sexism argument, is very racist against Japanese.
Yeah.
I know you don't like me saying it, but it's there. It is absolutely there. There's a West versus, and West in this one, I mean UK and US, UK and US versus everybody else. I think there is a little bit of that. But in saying that, look, if it's buggy on the old gens and they're fixing it, based on what happened with No Man's Sky, should everybody be panicking? Because No Man's Sky turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it took them 2 years though. And keep in mind, okay, so there's two prongs to it. Like Simon says,
Simon Says is a good saying.
Yeah, I know. they should have just left it next gen and forgot previous gen. I think you could have gone back to previous gen. Yeah. So I think that is the obvious thing with it is Dallas is right. There are games that have these grander scales and grander scopes and all that, and that's true. But they were probably specifically focused for that platform. And I don't think for a second that this was. So this was for a PC. This was a PC release. They should have done PC release consoles next year. As far as I'm concerned, that's how they should have done it.
Yeah, and you know what? I reckon all the gamers would have been okay.
Yeah.
This idea the gamers were upset that it was released, I reckon that's crap.
100%.
It was really the invest. Look, I don't know how their company structure is, but there would have been people demanding this who were not gamers.
Yeah.
Okay. But so your experience so far, and you're on a Xbox Series X.
I'm on a Series X, so thank you again. Thanks to Microsoft for that one. I am on a Series X.
Are you on the take like all the?
No, I'm not on the take. No, I took an Xbox from them, but
hashtag Jason Gate.
Yeah. That'd be worse than that. The game plays fine. Like there's bugs. The biggest problem with the bugs is, right, sometimes you just don't know if something's meant to happen, like if it's a scripted event or if it's a random event. Like there was one where it's like I had to go kill a guy, right? But the other option was I could capture him, drag him outside to thing, and let other people deal with him, like give them the chance to do it.
So your conscience is
yeah. Well, it was more they wanted to be the ones who cancelled the Evolio Vendetta. You know what I mean? So so they want to be the ones who killed him, right?
Yep.
So I went to pick him up, and then I'm like, I can't leave. I can't jump back through the window, so I have to open the door. So I go to open the door, and I put him down. And physics glitches, smack, his leg falls off, right? And I'm like, I just put him down. Like, I just put him down.
You kind of did.
Well, yeah, and I'm like, and then suddenly it was like, leave the area, and I'm like, but I don't even want that to happen. So my biggest complaint is it does affect the way that I play sometimes, where I'm like, is this going to count as a non-lethal? Like it tells you that the hammers are non-lethal. But I've just smashed faces off with the hammers, right? And I'm like, well then, like, you know, like, say they're less lethal or something. But, like, yeah, it's... The biggest problem with the bugs is when it affects your...
I would have thought how you get hit by a hammer determines whether it's lethal or not, because a hammer is pretty...
Well, look, yeah, it reminds me of... it reminds me a little bit of Fallout. Again,
like in the forehead with a hammer, I reckon you're
I
dead.
am legitimately playing this game like it's Fallout New Vegas. I have a sniper rifle, a silenced machine gun, a silenced pistol with like a revolver and a hammer. And that is how I played New Vegas. And that was how I got through all of New Vegas. Exactly the same thing. So for me, like the other complaint that comes out is like people, there's no traffic AI, there's no cop AI. And both those things are true, but I don't think the game was ever trying to be GTA. Do you know what I mean? Like I think, if anything, it being in a cyberpunk city is it to its detriment on that thing. Because Fallout, you can do the wide open wastelands. Do you know what I mean? Like you can just go... It's a wide open wasteland. You don't have to program anyone in. You don't see anyone. The people and the cars and that are all there for filler. They're all there purely as like window dressing for the scene that's being set out in front of you. Whether that's good or bad, that's what it is. I don't think they ever were going to have like a GTA style system where cops will react independently. They'll come over, start hassling you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, GTA's driving around is fun, but it's still repetitive and not much to it, basically. I wouldn't get too excited.
See, I haven't had anything like that. I haven't had like a gun firing off midair. No, I haven't had that. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I haven't had.
So what now, so I mean, there's glitches, but if you play it on a really good PC or a PS5 or an Xbox Series, you're probably going to be fine. So if you're on an older console, sit tight for a bit. No, I mean, they're going to patch it. They'll patch it.
Well, I mean, look at what they did to Witcher 3. Look at what they did to Witcher 2. Like, Witcher 2, they basically re-released in Witcher 3 engine, and you still paid the same amount for the same game. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're known for going back and fixing it. And that's what annoys me, is, like, the fact that they pushed so hard for this release in a year of COVID. Like, the one year you could got away with it. The one year you could have said, guys, they can't... Microsoft...
Every Hollywood movie got cancelled.
Microsoft cancelled a Halo launch in a console launch year because of COVID.
It would have been really handy with the Series X to come out.
Halo, they've never released a console without a Halo game. You know what I mean? It's just it's how it works. And so it's amazing to me that if Microsoft will do that, CDPR reading the writing on the wall is insane.
I hope, because this worries me a little bit, the devs were made to crunch. We've talked about crunch on this before. And the other thing is, I don't know if they still do it, but often devs have their bonuses for the game tied to Metacritic scores, which is dumb.
Well, you want to talk about the New Vegas comparisons. That was what screwed New Vegas. New Vegas' bonuses got paid out on 78, and the Metacritic score was 77. As like... Are you for real? Like,
and you know, some bean counter with the spreadsheet's going to go, we just saved a heap of money.
Yeah, we just saved $6 million. It's like, great. And you ripped off the best devs you've ever had into your stable.
And look, I worry. Look, the devs have worked their asses off. I feel really bad for them. They deserve still to be rewarded because they have worked on it. But if they miss out on bonuses on the game and the game eventually gets patched and everything gets done, it's not their fault. Like, what happened isn't the developer's fault.
Yeah.
If they've got any of their pay tied to Metacritic scores, I really feel bad for them right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably, if that is the case, I haven't seen anything come out yet. I suspect it might be, because it always is. Then that really needs to be reconsidered, because it is terribly unfair on them. The developers didn't decide, the actual programmers and the artists and that, they didn't decide to release it early.
And look, I like, similar to New Vegas, going through the game, playing, seeing all these individual stories play out, like, it's great. There's all these tales of people that you know and you meet and you deal with, like. Yeah, you if you decide to do, like, interfere in a guy's relationship, as in, like, his marriage, you follow his cheating wife and stuff like that, that has lasting effects that you don't necessarily expect are going to be the lasting effects. I just dealt with the bartender at one of the places, and her story and that whole thing was just well done. It was a thing that, like, happened. You know what I mean? Like, so they handle transhumanism, they handle all these, like, hot button topics so well, and it's just a shame to me that they get this criticism.
All right, well, we have to get onto that now, because that's the other thing that I've seen a lot, especially in places like Resetera.
Yeah.
And
Resetera,
my love for Resetera. But look, the story from what you've said so far is good.
Yeah.
So credit to them for that. Now,
I don't even think Keanu does a good job. It's one of his better roles.
I mean, that is a hook.
Yeah.
I mean, now the trans stuff has, now I'll preface this by saying neither of us are trans, so if we say something wrong here, it's unintentional. We're not trying to be funny or anything. But the trans aspect of it has been a big hot issue, especially on some parts of the internet, etc., where CD Projekt Red have been called transphobic for things they've maybe tweeted in the past. I don't like people being judged off tweets, even their companies, because Twitter is a dickhead place, but then what you were saying to me is the trans aspect of the story you felt had been handled properly.
Yeah. So let's
respectfully
let's take two prowls on this. Number one, it was the shitty attack helicopter joke that they got in trouble for on Twitter. Rightfully so. It's a shitty joke. It's not funny.
I think wrongly so. I don't.
It's a shitty. It's not funny. Like, what's the punchline?
No, look. I think if you're going to hang someone on that, I think it's kind of lame.
Yeah,
because really, I mean, it's just anyway.
Someone in the office approved that tweet. That's all I'll say. Someone thought that was a good idea, and I don't think that was a good idea.
But that's a tweet, right?
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking things that go out on Twitter are just brain farts, right? Yeah. But what we're talking, if we wanted to know what CD Projekt Red actually thought of an issue, wouldn't it be fair to say
it would be
that their story writing, their art, the art is the way.
Yeah.
That's the best way. I was going to describe it differently, but their art is what they think. Now, if we're going to judge them on something that's on Twitter, it might have been done by an intern or something. Right. You never know, right?
All right. What time are we at now? 46. Moderate spoilers for the next 4 odd minutes.
Okay,
right.
But it is an issue that has come up in some parts of the gaming community. So if we are going to judge CD Projekt Red by as far as trans issues goes, are they transphobic? How did the story go?
Yeah,
because that is what they want to be.
So like I say, like I still think they were rightly called out on Twitter. They sorted that. The storyline the storyline that I've seen that involves, like, anyone who's, like, trans is you do driving missions. And part of that, the chick that you're working with, she hires you to be the new driver, because it turns out her old driver died. Turns out her old driver was her husband. Turns out, randomly, in conversation, she just mentions, even before I transitioned, he was one of the people, like, that, he cared about me, he loved me before that, and then blah, blah. So it's this really, like, nice sales. Oh, yeah, cool. And it's just part of it. It's just, this person was trans, this is their story. It's a sad story. Do you want to help them kill these other people, or do you want to try and talk them away from, killing? It handles its morals from the point of view of a very, like, humanist point of view, where it's like, this is just a person dealing with the unjust death of their husband. How do you want to deal with it? And I think that's perfect.
But is that how to handle, like,
just normalize it?
Again, as a straight white cis male, all that stuff, right? Normalize. Is that how to handle those stories, to not make a big deal?
It's kind of two-pronged, because everyone's like, you need to have more creatives from these backgrounds, and I absolutely agree, that's true. But at the same time, I think just telling...
purely on numbers. If every game studio in the world hired a trans person, would there be enough to go around? I'm being
no,
but just on numbers.
But keep in mind that the dev has a lot of that kind of stuff for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into it because I'm going to misspeak. But yeah,
a bit like actors and writers. I mean, their job is to understand.
Yes, and again, that's what I say. Is like I think that's where good writing will transcend. It's like even with jokes. If you tell a joke about a touchy subject, as long as the joke lands, it's fine. But the second that the joke is lazy or just obvious, like it doesn't help that conversation.
And it's also, I mean, people say punching up, punching down. I'm not a fan of that because I think that's a little bit dumb. But if it's making fun of the subject or making fun of the situation of the subject,
as opposed to the person,
there are. You can tell jokes about
if the punchline is society's reaction to X, there's a humour in that. Do you know what I mean? But if it's like, how about them fucking blip, like that shit.
If it's putting down the subject of the joke, then that's a lazy joke.
Yeah, it's a lazy bullying joke.
But if it's alerting you to something, and this is where humour and good writing and good art generally can raise something.
And that's why I say it has to be good. Like this is the problem: is there's been a lot of lazy writing. Did you watch that Miss TV show? Like, you want to talk about the laziest writing for, like, gay characters and stuff. That was the laziest writing. It turns out he was the bad guy. Turns out he was the bad friend. It was all the stereotypes.
Alice, she wrote an interesting story, I thought, about why lesbian and bi characters in all TV shows are normally bad.
Yes.
Also, I remember Steve from Survivor also wrote an article, independent of that, obviously, about how gay relationships are shown in games and how they're actually not done very well.
Yes.
They were done. So it is interesting to see that perspective.
Yeah. But, so the old like they've got the tropes like bury your gays and all that. Like you kill them so the character can have a life affirming moment and realize that life is better.
That was Alice's thing.
Yeah.
And she even picked up Last of Us 2 on that.
Yes, and I get it, and I definitely understand. I think again, it comes from that idea of. I'm not necessarily looking for, I'm not expecting when I go in. I'm used to seeing lazy tropes, so I'll call that lazy tropes. I think Last of Us doesn't do a bad job of it, but yes, there's definitely times where I'm like, well, that was a bit lazy. But everything was again, when you're talking a 25-hour story-driven experience, like there's always going to be parts where you're like, you could have done that better, guys. And I think, again, for all again, we're talking about Cyberpunk, we're talking about a transhumanist world, where it's like post-humanity. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's souped up 80s with the ability to change organs.
80s is good. You got my attention.
At least Reagan didn't survive. But like, like to me, I think like the two are separate issues. Like you want to say the stupid Twitter account dickheads need to watch their mouths. I think that's fair. It was a shit joke. Call them on it.
Judge them on their art. Oh, look.
To say that therefore everything that X does is think when it's a company made up of 150, 200 diverse voices is dumb because you don't really have proof to back that. Like I say, I
agree with that. So when you're talking companies, this is also when companies attach themselves to things, right? You could be talking hundreds of people; they all think different, and even if I don't want to sound too controversial on this, but even if every single person in that company was, say, gay, right? Yeah. They're still going to think different. Yeah. They're still going to have different views on different issues and that because it's actually, I reckon it's quite discriminatory to assume they'd all think the same. So,
well, I mean, like, look, it is always that thing. I mean, like,
if everybody
the real enemy is always money. It's always class. Let's be real. Yeah. But at the same time, look, I think. There's no point paying attention to random Rosetta or Gronk. CDPR have a much bigger issue in devotion. I'm sure you were going to bring that up at some point.
I was going to come up. I was going to do
CDPR to me, that is
their
biggest sin at the moment is devotion. And like I will go in that all the day. And so if you are watching from Beijing or Guangdong or whatever, turn off now.
Yeah, like, our social credit score is about to go down.
Yeah, because mine was real high to begin with. Hey, all those trips to Japan in my rhetoric.
Before we get on that, I did see Oz said in the chat that Halo 3 didn't come with 360.
But it launched with It launched with Forza, didn't it?
No, because remember they released Crackdown with a Halo 3 demo.
That's
so everybody had to buy Crackdown. It's a bit like Zone of Enders and
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, so
I mean, like I was still happy to do that because it was a good game and I got to play.
So you must be the only person playing Crackdown. I don't think anyone else played Crackdown.
Crackdown 1's a good game. Man.
I didn't say it was a bad game. Just nobody gave a shit. They wanted the Halo demo.
Came in with COD 2. Came in with Condemned, which is still one of the best games out there. Gun. How good was Gun?
I don't know.
Cameo was the Rare game that no one cared about.
Don't say that. Oz is still in the chat.
Peter Jackson's King Kong, fantastic game.
I bought that.
Such a good game.
I never played it. I think it might still be in the wrapping, like my old textbooks from school.
Yeah.
It's still got that new game
anyway,
smell.
but the thing is, yes, you're right. It didn't come with the 360.
Yes.
But they still launched. They had the demo. Do you know what I mean? So they still teased you with.
Yeah, to make you buy Crackdown.
Correct. So from that point of view, like, yes, you're right. But at the same time, like they've built so much of their brands around. I mean, they bought Gears back for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in Epic owned Gears, and they paid Epic money for the Gears name for a reason.
Yeah, actually, they're paying lots of money. Well, that's another story about
Tactics
people
is good
buying
at the moment.
things. There you go. See, I was triggered.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about the quality of the game. I just said that no one cared about it.
I just know that because we played Cameo on an old Game Plus stream one night, and Oz was clearly in love with it. So
yeah, rare.
It's one of those games.
I'm glad to see Perfect Dark coming back, and even as a third-person shooter. But it just goes to show you that Rare, the brain drain is on because they're doing Sea of Thieves. So yeah,
I used to be able to know on the old Game Plus streams with Oz which games he really liked because he wouldn't hand me the controller. He'd keep the controller to himself for 4 hours. So anyway, that's how I knew. And Cameo is one I know he was a big fan of.
I watched you play Sonic. I think it's a good strat.
I actually never played.
I know 2D Sonic is shit at him. Yep.
I'm not good as I love Sonic, but I only got involved in Sonic in the Dreamcast days. So I rarely play.
I mean, you get Escape from the City, which is the best song that's probably in gaming. Like that's how we'll end. I'll play Escape from the City.
That's why I love Sonic Generations and Sonic Forces way more than Sonic Mania.
Yeah, because you're mental. That's fine. Generations was fine. Forces, Jesus, Forces.
Yeah, I said you're right. Yeah, see, I know this. Yes, talking mental, talking movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your house in Upgrade?
So funny. You know that was filmed in Victoria, right? And it's so obvious that it was filmed in Victoria.
It's your house.
You have a look at the front, right? And it's got the switchboard at the front. When he kills that first bloke, when he first gets the chip, right? He kills that first bloke.
Yeah.
It's the Aussie switchboard at the front door, right?
It's your house.
Yeah.
It is your house. Even the internal layout, I recognise from when we used to film there that it's your house.
And because I made that joke when I was laughing. I'm like, yeah, they filmed it at like Broadmeadows or one of these workers' cottage places. I mean, you know the last car chase.
They filmed it in Doveton.
Yeah.
Your old house.
The coppers are chasing he's got the robot car, and the coppers are chasing it down. And she's in the other car. It's an XR6 Turbo. It was obviously an XR6 Turbo driving down past the Balti. Like, I was like, this is obviously filmed in Australia.
Anyway. It is in Melbourne. Anyone wondering what I'm talking about? I got just sidetracked on movies. Upgrade, which is an Australian movie. Very Deus Ex.
It's an Australian movie.
Amazing twist.
Yes.
I did not see that coming. Other than
you just ruined it, but that's okay.
Okay. Great movie. Anyone who hasn't seen Upgrade, Upgrade.
Yeah, it's got what's his name? Logan Michael Paul, which is like second-rate Tom Hardy. Well, not even second-rate.
Logan Paul.
No.
He's one of the guys who died. I'll watch it again if he died.
Yeah. Did you see Logan Paul mouthing off at
Floyd Mayweather?
No, the other one.
Because one of them's fighting
Conor
McGregor?
McGregor, yeah.
Because one of them's fighting Floyd Mayweather. And if Floyd Mayweather tries, the poor guy's dead. Yeah. He can beat both of them at once.
Well, it was funny watching Logan Marshall Green. And he's like, he looks like, Tom Hardy.
Okay, yeah, cool. That's a sidetrack, but if you haven't seen it, go watch Upgrade. It is, I reckon, it's one of the best Australian movies.
Because Logan Paul had a boxing match against another YouTube celebrity, and he looked okay. Not gonna lie, what's the older one? Jake Paul. Jake Paul's the older brother. And he looked alright. But he's like, I'll face you in a boxing match, Conor. It's like, face him in an MMA match. Go on. Like, let Conor kick, and you'll see what happens. You get kicked in the face, and you'll die. Like,
can I pay to watch it?
Yeah.
I will pay to watch Logan and Jake Paul.
Make him fight even Old Mike. Old Mike could rip him to shreds.
You know they're Disney properties. That's why they get away with everything. It's funny. Anyway,
because we used to be part of that, and then they had to pay us out because they cut us out of the network. Mixer starts with M. And it was like it was like a channel that we were part of their influencer network that we used to run videos through. And Disney bought it out, and they were part of that too. And that was so then they pushed.
If you're wondering why some YouTubers are biggest because they're part of larger networks and they're making money for someone else. If you're wondering why people are, say Delphine for example, get banned off places because they're not. Yeah. So anyway, that's how YouTube works. Anyway, look. Okay, now. I avoided the story there because I got sidetracked because I was dying to talk about actually that movie. Upgrade is great. Yeah, I reckon it's one of the best. Yeah. They're one of the best Australian movies, and it's funny to see Melbourne in it.
Well, it's the guy who did Saw.
I've never watched Saw. It's not really my thing. I'm not really a horror. I was actually...
Saw's good.
I was apprehensive watching Upgrade because I knew it was pretty full on at times, and it's just not my thing. So, and I was watching it with my boy, and I'm probably a bad parent. But it was a good movie. He loved it. Okay, Devotion. Now let's talk that.
So tell them the story.
Okay,
first.
Devotion is a Taiwanese developed is that right? Yep. Developed horror game. In the game, basically the thing that is mostly relevant is there's apparently some jokes or cracks at Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh is what Chinese people are not allowed to refer to Xi Jinping.
There was a campaign because people were using Winnie the Pooh as code for Xi Jinping, and so
you're not
people just avoid it now because you just don't want to have the hassle of dealing with.
And Taiwan is, as far as he's concerned, he's still China. He's part of China. That's right.
It. We're going geopolitical, but the rest of the world, the rest of the world signs off on the one China policy. China will let Taiwan exist as long as people recognize that it's technically China.
And the Americans will defend them militarily if China ever tries to take
and so that goes back to Mao and Chiang Kai-shek after World War II. Chiang Kai-shek got kicked out by the communists, went to Taiwan, set up in Taiwan. Brutal dictatorship for 50 years, let's be real. Come the 90s, there's a new wave of thing. They're very close to Japan now. They've got to tie into the Western world. Despite everything that happened with Japan and Taiwan during the war, there is real strong sentiment toward partnering with Japan going forward.
And they have operated for decades. So much as their own country, they are their own country. Then again, look at Hong Kong.
For two, I say to everyone, you're talking to both an Australian and first gen Australian from Irish stock. If you were to tell me that people should be able to, there should be a right to self-determination on a nation state level, yes,
what happened in Catalan in Spain? The Kurds in Iraq have been trying to get their own place forever, but
and now they'll never trust the Americans again.
They'll let the Turks in. Anyway, look, it's okay. I personally think if somebody wants self-determination, they should be granted it.
Agreed.
It doesn't normally go that way unless there is unless a higher power gets to split somebody up.
Yes,
which they like. What got done in Spain with Catalan, we didn't see a lot of coverage of, but it was pretty freaking ordinary by the Spanish. Yeah. Anyway, now the fact is, Taiwan, a Taiwanese video game developer made this game as a horror game, and apparently it had some cracks at Winnie the Pooh. The other thing is, it's from a Taiwanese developer, which is probably still enough. Now, they listed the Good Old Games, which is owned by CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
They listed the game on their store, and within hours, pulled the game off the store, claiming that gamers requested the game be redrawn.
Now, two things.
And this is where we are now. So the game's not for sale on Good Old Games, and gamers apparently asked.
So the rest, okay. So none of the other stores have it. You can't, I've got Steam here. I'll see if I can log in and buy it. And I don't think it's on Steam either.
You gotta wait 10 minutes for the update.
Yeah. So none of them have carried it. Valve make too much money out of China with Dota, so they're never going to do it, right? All the other, Sony make too much money to ever consider it. Nintendo just opened up a partnership with Tencent. They're not going to push their luck either. Good Old Games were the only ones who did it. Cyberpunk sold like mental in China. It sold crazy in China.
Did it?
So suddenly it's in their interest to think. So keep in mind the gamers have risen up, quote unquote, twice in the last 2 weeks. One because of Watneys, right?
Yeah.
And one because of this, right? There's a trend, isn't there, on what kind of gamers are rising up to deal with this.
Well, I interpreted gamers to mean Chinese investors.
Correct.
To be honest. The Devotion is only the soundtrack is on Steam.
Yeah.
No, not the game.
So you can buy the soundtrack.
DLC for what? DLC for a game that doesn't exist.
Comes out for ads to the mixed reviews already. So the review bomb has started. Yep. Review bombs don't exist though. I was told that once.
I still reckon. Well, okay. In this case, they do.
Oh, get fucked.
I reckon fucked. Most review bomb claims are by developers that release shit games and are just whinging, right? In the case of an organised Chinese internet campaign, I'll acknowledge that it probably exists.
Jesus. Anyway, but yeah, so you can't search devotion on the store and just buy it.
Okay, so I might buy it just to get.
So it's pulled from Steam, I was reckoning. So
okay, now there's something that this goes back to what I said when we are talking about Cyberpunk, right? Yeah. Now, where's Sony based out of now? California. Microsoft. US company.
So Seattle.
Steam, US company.
You got to remember, Microsoft and Steam and Valve are literally 3 blocks from each other. Gabe was a Microsoft employee.
And somebody is like 12,000 miles away in Poland. I don't know, it's probably... Yeah, but I'm just making that number up.
That's a big... No, that's too much. It's about 6,000.
6,000, okay. Well, you're the savant, so you'd know.
Oh, geez, right? If I'm right, I'm going to be so mad.
You're Rayman.
Distance.
You're so Rayman. Just do diameter of it.
Between... I guess if we're talking LA, between US and Poland...
Fact is, CD Projekt Red is a Polish developer. They're like sitting in Europe next to Russia. Are you doing
no routes available. 5,000 miles. Get fucked.
Oh, well, you're
5,100.
6,000. You're way off.
Yeah, right off, yeah. So 12,000, you could literally go around it twice and pass it, end up in Russia.
What I mean. You might want to sightsee on the way, right? You want to
do 2 laps and end up in Russia. Yeah.
And you got to do quarantine and shit like that, right? So anyway, excuse my numbers, but anyway, the fact is, CD Projekt Red is outside of the American sphere of influence.
Correct.
And that I wondered if a lot of, and this is what I mentioned, Hello Games, right? I wondered if a lot of the backlash that's happening to CD Projekt Red, and that's Cyberpunk, the way that's been treated, because normally, especially in the media, there's a tendency to go, oh, gamers are being man babies and complaining about this unfinished game, even when clearly it's unfinished, right? Yeah. That tends to happen because there tends to be that knee-jerk reaction because there's baggage.
Because they didn't learn from Mass Effect 3, so yeah.
There's baggage there between video game press and gamers. Yeah. It's hard, you can't deny that. There is baggage there, right? Between both groups have baggage with each other, right? But see, CD Projekt Red, and they copped a lot of shit over Witcher as well. But in this one, there hasn't been any real support for them. And also you've got this thing happen with Devotion. And it just to me, it smells like they're out of the US sphere of influence. They're Polish. And at the moment, there are parts of the internet underground that love Poland for reasons. And therefore, there's going to be parts that hate Poland for the same reasons, right? And I just think that's what's going on. Yeah. And this Devotion thing is China, and that is absolutely China flexing their muscle.
Yeah, they are so pissed off at the way they've been treated over COVID. And don't get me wrong, they definitely deserve... They were definitely hiding numbers. They were definitely doing all these kind of things.
This China?
Yeah.
Oh, they're lying their asses off.
But it's that thing of like... But then...
5,000 deaths. Pull the other one. Pull the other one and squirts and goes.
But then you look at it the other way and it's like, but who's accusing them? The US, who have lied constantly since COVID hit their shores.
That's a battle between two pathological liars.
But that goes back to all these problems.
That's Essendon playing Collingwood, right? There's no good guys.
For ages, the media domination was so that they could get away with that narrative. They could get away with China's telling fibs again, and nobody pays attention to American coups in South America or around missile sites.
Yeah, right? Look over there what they're doing.
Yeah, so for years they could get away with it. They can't get away with it no more because China will just mobilise their army of downvote gamers. Right? And they don't even need to. Because you just say it as part of a social campaign. You just say, these people have insulted us and our nation. And you want to talk about American nationalism, Chinese got them beat, right? Because at least in America, I believe in my country, I believe in whatever. But they can set up their little compounds, they can set up their little whatever. And as long as, they've got that freedom, quote unquote, freedom to die if you need a penicillin shot. Yeah. But in China, it's incentivized to become lackeys in that. Do you know what I mean? And it incentivizes you to follow the cultural norm in a culture that already encourages you to follow the cultural norm. So if the cultural norm is they've attacked us and they've attacked, this company has attacked our particular way of life, it doesn't take much to convince people to do it. I mean, you look at all the, he loses the election. Oh, it's got to be fixed. It's like, it's not fixed. You're just a bit fucked in the head. Like, you know what I mean?
There's many aspects of the two major powers in the world right now that are extremely similar, but they pretend they're not.
Yes.
Okay, so China has an official credit score, social credit score. in our sphere of influence, under the American sphere of influence, there's cancel culture, internet. Basically, on Twitter, you might get blocked. We have it. We have a social credit score as well. But it's not as formalised. There still is, right? Now, whether it's done the same way or not, there is still blind loyalty is what Dallas just wrote. There is a blind loyalty to the ruling power that you're under. And we unfortunately in Australia we've developed that over the last 20 years very much so.
We picked up American cultural hegemony.
And in the last 4 years, while the Orange Man's been president, it's been pushed on us even more. And the number of people you go to on the ABC site now that are absolutely convinced we're American, and we should care. But with that blind loyalty, that loyalty to your kids.
And that was Howard. You want to talk about who started that down here? It was Howard who started the
and China has that very strongly. And also there probably still is. I'm only going to guess some baggage from historical things that have been done to them by the West.
They've been waiting 200 years to get back at the Poms and the Americans. The Americans said they'd help in the Boxer Rebellion, and they fucked them bad. So they've waited 200 years. They've bided their time.
And they might be just saying it's our turn. And you know what? If you're a citizen of a country, I understand that because you know what, you're a citizen of the country. You love it when Australia wins a sport, right?
Did you see the cricket the other day?
Yeah, the cricket was great.
Jesus Christ!
Go India.
Go home.
You know what?
Just get down to 12 squad out.
The next cab off the rank that is going to be another culture shock to a lot of people is India.
Can we call it the culture shock now? Let's go. We're just changing this to Bolshevik hour. I'll put a red filter over the top. 250 million people in a general strike in India with hammers and sickles over their heads. Hammers and sickles as their flag marching through the streets of Kerala. What the fuck is happening?
We haven't seen India flex its muscle really like America and China has. That's the next one. That's going to be massive.
If Modi doesn't get this under control, you could be looking at genuinely the Soviet Socialist Republic of India. You could genuinely be looking at that, and I wonder how the moneyed interest would go with that. You think America, like Pakistan now, they will funnel missiles into fucking Pakistan if India goes down that route. I promise 250 million people. I got friends. I got friends who work with Indian companies, and they're getting their customers are complaining that they're not getting any products. 250 million people aren't working. You suddenly start talking, and it's a young culture. So there's a lot of kids. So you subtract, say, 30% of the 1.1 million or whatever they've got. Take 30% of that out because they're all kids and they're not working. Well, take out the old folk. They're not working. 250 million people is a lot of goddamn people. It's 10 times the Australian population on strike, on a fucking general worker strike. What a world we're in. May you forever. The old Chinese proverb, may you forever live in interesting times. And these are about as most interesting times we've had in the last 70 years.
As US is busy committing suicide, and I don't think that's finished. You're seeing... Well, China's flexing its muscle. It's flexing its muscle in gaming. It's using its money to do it. It has a very... Don't underestimate China's online army.
No, for sure.
They have that, and in fact, I would always, and I know some people might disagree, I would always, if something happens online, whether it's hacks and that, I won't go in detail, always look at China first, because they are active, they are very, and look, the other thing is, they're a pretty intelligent population in that area, right? Yeah. So and they're
very savvy, I would say.
Savvy, let's go with that. And they're going to flex their muscle more. They're going to be encouraged to flex their muscle more because that's how they are at the moment. America can't fight back like it used to.
America has had since the war. So let's assume the war was a ramping up of the military-industrial complex, which it was. They obviously had other incursions, but before that, for 80 years, it was a chance to build themselves as the highest power in the world. Russia will never be anything more than it is. Its GDP is that of Spain.
But if Russia didn't have nukes, they'd be nobody.
Correct. So
people fuss about them.
China's got them. They'll just never tell you they got them, right? But at the same time, as far as a conventional army,
Taiwan's apparently loaded with nukes.
I've heard that too. And I'm sure the submarines that are zipping about down there have plenty of nukes on them. China may not have the conventional army, but the one area that they can dictate a lot of that thing, because a lot of people buy Chinese chips when they put it into their routers. This is the Huawei conversation. They have such an advantage on that. Look at America. America is currently being hacked. They reckon by the Russians. I'm convinced it's Russia and China teaming up to just...
people who try to tell me online that Russia and China work together. Yeah, they fucking do.
Because if there's anyone who believes the enemy of my enemy is my friend, like China, like someone said, they're like, oh, but what happens when China expands into Russia? It's like, why would ya? Let's say you want to go up and take it over. You got to go through Mongolia, which is not the best, like, not the easiest land to cross in the first place. Then you got to go into the tundra that is fucking Russia. They don't want to take it. They don't want to expand that way.
Good stuff's over the other side.
They don't want to expand that way. It's not how their diplomacy works. They're not Americans, and because the Americans do it by the gun, China will do it by the pen. Like it's as simple as that.
Well, by the dollar at the moment. Yeah. Now, okay. Now, basically, the upshot of where we're going with that with CD Projekt Red. Right now, they're in a spot, right?
Yeah.
So China is punishing them for daring to put a Taiwanese game in the store. And they're outside of the US sphere of protection. Yes. And this is where I was going with. They're a Polish developer, right? So if you're in the US sphere of protection, you will be protected by the media generally.
Yes.
And Hello Games were there. CD Projekt Red isn't. But also at the same time, they pissed off China and they're suffering for that.
When you want to stay political like that, to me that is what, to a lot of people, the reason that everyone's got their quote-unquote Trump derangement syndrome, why they hated Trump so much, because he wouldn't commit to protecting Japan. He wouldn't commit to protecting South Korea, which I think it's in their interest that they do, because you let Japan off that leash, I don't think you put that leash back on ever again.
Yeah, well,
right?
he's gone in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
so.
And that's what, well, you never know, matey. It's America at the moment. Like,
the Secret Service will drag him out. There are higher powers there, right? There are institutions in that country that won't let one person take it over. That's my belief.
I would have thought that 5 years ago. I don't think so anymore.
I don't. I think
I would have thought everyone has to play the game to a certain extent. He proved he didn't, because the rules don't matter. No one actually.
He
pays
never went with
attention.
any rules, and that's why it's so confusing to a lot of people. That's why it was so hard to check at every point.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that's the Orange Man, and I think we talk in Australia too much about Orange Man.
Yeah. We got our own smug prick that we need to deal with first. Remember? Hawaii, boys. Let's go to Hawaii.
Okay, let's talk smug pricks. So we're
Tim Sweeney.
We're done. Well, we are going that direction. Okay, but still, I think CD Projekt Red. Now, the game you would still recommend?
If you aren't playing it on base consoles, as a piece of art, as a thing of artistic merit, I think it still has merit. It's not the 10 out of 10. It's not the best game that people have ever played. Anyone who says that, I think, is deluding themselves. But it is very good. It's Cyberpunk, New Vegas, and that's all we've ever wanted.
So the trans stuff, you think, ultimately, if you want to judge them by their art did it as far as we can say. As far as I'm
concerned, that, like I say, I still think they need to give the Twitter guy a few.
Let's judge them by their art. Judge them by their art. It's like I've said with Notch in Minecraft. Judge by the art. Judge by what they.
He's a different story.
But that's what they produce. They produce this game. And also, there would be, I don't know how many people work at CD Projekt Red. There would be dozens, at least, people work there. They're not all that person, right? And I think it is hard when people go, boycott the game and punish them for this. You've got one tweet versus a lot of developers who they're just working, right? People don't get that. They're not there. But do you agree with everything your employer says? Right?
I'm my employer. My boss.
Well, I do because I'm my boss. But but as far as see, the thing is, you can't expect. You can't hang a company based on something that gets done by social media. I think it's different.
Like I say, look, I think if you've got a game like Hatred or those kind of obvious neo-Nazi,
but we're talking CD Projekt.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think if that's the specific thing that it's pushing, it's a completely different conversation. Like, but by that argument, the creators of Wolfenstein did bad things. I'm like, no, they showed it well in the sense
judged by the art and the art that they did. So the trans thing you think has been done respectfully, it is an issue in a world where you can just change anything of yourself. It is something.
But it's a different conversation. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
it's a conversation worth having in that context, right? Because in that context, it's easier than what it is now. But the developer at the moment is copying a lot of flack. I'd say, look, because the developers may have all their bonuses tied to and a bit of their pay tied to how it goes. I'd say if you bought the game and you can wait for a patch, please wait for a patch. Don't go demanding money back. You really, ultimately, look, you may hurt the company, but you're going to hurt the developers. And the developers crunched for this. They worked their asses off. Whether they wanted to or not, that's another story. And whether that should happen or not, it's another story. Yeah. But the fact is that they're the ones that really are going to suffer.
Yeah.
I don't know how many video game development jobs there are in Poland.
Like I say, I'd say of all the things to go CDPR for at the moment, the devotion removal is way worse. It is inherently worse.
And that's the story about China flexing its muscle, which is a general geopolitical thing. They're flexing their muscle. And I think it may not even have anything to do with the Winnie the Pooh references. It may just be because it's a Taiwanese developer. You might find that they're trying to strangle that industry there.
Well, they made another game called Detention, which was like a school-based horror game. It did okay. It was like one of those standard kind of anime horror games. But this was obviously, again, I could understand if it was a main theme against China. I'd just say, do you remember there used to be games where you would fight China as the enemy? Do you remember those games? Like there was a lot of them.
Command and Conquer Generals. I build for China.
There was a lot of them,
and they had the nukes.
For them suddenly everyone to kind of play that kind of that's like who's the acceptable enemy? It's amazing to me that Russia is still the acceptable enemy after all this time. Like, god damn, the Cold War programming worked. Everything's Russia. Everything's Putin. Like, Putin's a scumbag and he's done a lot of nasty things. Like, have you watched that video of Navalny going through the list of people who tried to murder him? Like the opposition leader? He made a video basically listing the names and occupations of all the countries who tried to murder him.
They're a mafia organisation masquerading as a country. But on the other hand, if they didn't have nukes, they'd be nothing. Their GDP's tiny, right? Yeah. The people who are hung up in this Cold War thing, I think they're also playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
And that's because they do have nukes, and ultimately we probably shouldn't do the antagonism.
Yeah.
It's at some point can get escalated too far. And I think
the Red Menace. Yeah, it's still that. It's that same mentality. And to me, it's just dumb. I don't think that's how you.
Yeah, it's not. Ivan Drago's not coming over and.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Okay, now we were talking idiots, smug idiots. Okay, Fortnite.
I should have known.
My favourite game of all time, Fortnite, is adding an Among Us mode. So the game that was copied off PUBG, the game is now copying Among Us. Now Among Us is like by 3 developers. It's an indie game by 3 devs. They're about to get screwed by Epic.
Original name was
what an underdog! They're fighting Apple. They're the underdog. They're fighting for everybody. They're really doing the thing. They're doing it for us, guys. But let's just screw the developers of Among Us by releasing a free version. Sorry. Tim Sweeney can get fucked. You are not.
No arguments.
You're not the underdog when you go do that. Fortnite's adding an Among Us mode. I've ranted, but seriously, seriously,
Tim Sweeney's a dickhead, mate. I can't be bothered. Like the funny thing with Among Us, right? So it's on Switch now. So $6 on Switch.
Yeah, go buy it because it is. My daughter's playing it with her friends.
It's free on Xbox.
And she's got a Mac, right? Yeah. So anyway, and the boys always on the Xbox, right? Excuse me. So Among Us is crossplay with the Switch and PC.
Yes, it's crossplay.
So she's been.
So the only thing is obviously playing it on the Switch sucks because you have to use their communication app technically. No. See, this is what people. Yeah, go Discord. This is another debate that's kind of getting me a little bit worked up. My kids, when they play games with their friends, I think my daughter's group uses Skype and my son's group uses Discord. Don't use in-game chat. You know all this stuff about in-game chats, or you know what? Don't use it. Because when they just link up with their friends in their normal chat, there's no. I mean, there may be. You do have obviously that concern. This is always a concern with Discord of like insular groups, like. Yeah, that's where the radicalisation conversation comes from.
Yeah, but
I don't think your mates.
14-year-old boy.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think jumping in with your mates to play garden warfare.
He's not hopping on Does Vault.
Yeah.
But no, when they're just hopping on with their little friends to play a game, and if anybody out there is a parent. Don't buy your kids a headset for the Xbox. Don't use in-game chat.
Get a proper set of headphones.
Let them use their phone or the iPad.
Well, if you have proper cable headphones now on the Xbox controller, like it actually takes them. It doesn't take the proprietary one. Well, that's the old one. So it's got that. The new ones just have a 3-pin port.
But don't use in-game chat. Anyway, where are we going? Among Us. Okay, cool. Among Us, Fortnite is added, or I think it's added, a free Among Us mode. So basically the game that was effectively stolen off PUBG, wasn't there some history there that...
No, I mean, like...
Okay, we're not
what was it? Fortnite Saves the World was the original one. Was basically you build, and then at night time you get attacked, and you have to fight off enemies.
Yeah, my son bought that. Yeah. It's a tower defense store sort of game. Yeah, and then they stole the idea of Pope. Now they're stealing another idea, which is Among Us. Now I know everybody's adding battle royales now, but it's not a Fortnite thing they invented. Now another Among Us story. Among Us, they just said, is coming to Xbox Game Pass on PC. It's coming to the actual Xbox next year.
I have seen that. Yeah,
it's on the Switch. So go play it. If you feel like playing Among Us, go get the Switch version or Game Pass and do that. And do not play it in Fortnite because fair dinkum. They're the underdog. They're fighting Apple. Oh, great.
Yeah.
What was the next one? Okay, I love when games do this. Hades. Apparently Don plays it.
We're off to a good start. Yeah.
Don's done like 5,000 things about it online. Now Hades has cross save between PC and Switch, which is something. We've got crossplay now, but cross save is something I've been wanting for ages. I just want games to be able to play them on the PC, pick them up on another console somewhere, and just pick up where you were. There is no reason these days why it shouldn't happen. Hades is doing it, which is good. Apparently, I'm actually really keen to try it.
It's a Supergiant game. You know what to get.
Well, Don recommends it, so it looks good. But cross save always has me interested because if I can just go to bed and play on the Switch,
and then transfer over,
that's awesome. Okay, the other one, Electronic Arts outbid Take-Two for Codemasters.
Codemasters, yeah.
So they basically put Codemasters on eBay,
and
Take-Two put their bid in at $1 billion US, and then
started at $750 million. So
well, I mean that happens, and as you get to the end of the auction, it goes up as they've got their little bots monitoring.
So EA had it monitoring. It's 6 seconds left. They hit enter.
Yep. And Take-Two didn't get in time, so EA ended up winning that auction.
now they have to send it through PayPal and verify their identity.
1.4% of 1.2 billion would be a good take. So EA bought Codemasters instead of Take-Two. Where's that leave Take-Two?
They've got.
I mean, they've got $1 billion to spend.
Oh, they've got. Well, I mean, they're GTA, so they're Rockstar, so they're making literally $1 billion a year off GTA alone. NBA.
They could have found another $200,001.
$200 million.
$200 million. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The difference between $1 million and $1 billion is about $1 billion.
That's why you're the maths guy.
Fucking hell.
So that's what I did. So there's my job application for Australian Treasury.
It's just $60 billion off.
Okay, Halo 360 came up earlier when Oz mentioned it. Halo 360, all the Halo games basically on the 360 are going to have their service turned off December next year. If anyone's sad, I'm surprised it
hasn't been. But no, there's still people doing them. But you gotta remember. Do you remember when Xbox original had Halo 1, and then they were closing the lobbies, and the guys stayed in there and kept the one game open? There were like 12 of them in there.
I like that.
Just and so then they bribed the last 5 of them. They bribed. And they just said, we'll give you brand new Xbox, we'll give you brand new everything. You just got to leave so we can turn off these servers.
Awesome.
And they won, so yeah.
That's like that picture of that house with the road built around.
Yeah.
All right, another one. EA Play.
Yeah.
On PC Game Pass is coming quite early 2021, which is like a week away. 2 weeks away. It's not
if you
far.
take him literally, yep, sure.
So EA Play will be coming to PC Game Pass very soon. If you don't have Game Pass, we've raved about it before. Jason did in his Game of the Year thing.
Most of what I talked about.
Yeah, you did actually. You said there's a bunch of dickheads on the internet that said Last of Us 2 is shit. Don't listen to them. It's good. And now let's talk about Game Pass. That's Jason's Game of the Year presentation.
Pretty much. Everything I played was Game Pass. It's not even a joke. People laugh, haha, you're a shill. I'm like, dude, it's just so good. It makes me so mad because people think I'm shilling. I'm like, no, it's worth every cent of the $15 you pay. Yeah, Battlefront 2, when the old Battlefront 2, on the last night server was open.
That's good.
People waited it out.
I like a good troll like that. Yes, and clearly you're on the take for Microsoft. That's why we're in this palatial Jake Paul style mansion here.
That's where we are. Yeah.
All right,
that's my Lamborghini fire up in front.
Now, if there's a company that understands the internet and understands gaming,
Sony.
It's Telstra.
Okay. I think my answer was still valid.
No, I don't know. Okay, Telstra is introducing what they call Game Optimizer. Have you seen that?
This is the video and internet equivalent of Peter Brock's Polarizer. It's bullshit.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that's why he got fired from HSB.
It helped him focus in on his wife's face better.
Gee. See, that's a matter of making fun of the person who did and not the person who had it happen. Fuck Peter Brock, mate. The memory around Peter Brock is a fucking...
He's covered up forever by media.
Yeah, he was a
covered up for so long.
Complicit media bastard.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. That's why I'm a big fan of
It's the Bert Newton joke as well. Like, as always. Anyway,
we have to still put allegedly...
Where did Matt learn it from? Yeah, that's a learnt behaviour. You know what I mean? Like,
anyway, that's why...
Just burning every bridge I've got in the
Australian media. Paddy.
That was the old joke.
Okie dokie. Anyway, so where were we going? Telstra.
Game optimizer.
Game optimizer. So basically, you know, on new routers, you can prioritize some traffic, right? Yes. That's all it is. Prioritize. That's all.
Open your ports. Blah blah blah.
And Telstra's going to charge you $10 a month to do it.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So, I mean, they could give you a faster NBN. It wouldn't matter. But basically, for next to 10, and they say that for $10 a month, you'll get prioritized gaming traffic on your NBN connection.
Oh my God. All they're doing is going, okay, what ports do Xbox Live use? Xbox Live ports.
And basically, they're just going to do it. Routers have priority routing for different things.
So, you just open up. So here you go. We'll do it for free because we love Telstra. So if you're an Xbox gamer, you just want to open up. I'm pretty sure there's like 3 ports on TCP/IP and 2.
Does this fall under net neutrality?
For me, it is absolutely.
We don't have net neutrality in Australia.
Open ports for your router for Xbox Live.
Okay.
Anyway,
they're just going
to. Just open up for Xbox Live for Xbox One and for Series X. Just open up TCP 3074, and for UDP open up 88 500 3074 3544 and 4500. If more people want to know about that, because fuck Telstra, I will tell you what ports you need to open up. Hell, I'll make you a video about it. Because fuck giving Telstra $10. The bastards already got our NBN. They got the NBN maintenance contract. Just before the libs go, they're going to put the NBN out for tender, sell it to Telstra for a fucking song. And we'll be back where we started. And we're going to have to start figuring out how to buy fertiliser in fucking piles.
Did you know that the government bought Telstra's copper network?
Yep. They renegotiated it
for $18 billion and then said Telstra can keep using it. So it's almost like they're just handing money over. Anyway, the reason... Now, I normally wouldn't talk about Telstra because I love Telstra. I'm a big fan.
It's about Peter Brock.
Yep, that's Oz is probably on the money there, but every Brock fan's going to be triggered by that.
Yeah.
Didn't the NBN blame early this year or late last year video games for
that
NBN
was the guy
congestion?
Before... Who's the new one? Fletcher. So Felcher, the guy before him. Yeah. So the CEO of NBN and
Google that, boys and girls.
Yeah, don't Google that. Mitch Fifield and what was the old CEO of NBN? Blame gamers for.
Yeah. So they said now that was never true because games don't congest the network. They just need low pings and latency, right?
Yeah.
The actual amount of data that a video game sends, unless you're using Stadia or something like that, the actual amount of data the game sends isn't much. But the reason they were upset with games at the time, and the reason they lied about it, I'm going to say outright they lied, was because the NBN was shit, and they knew that they'd had a lot of dropouts at the time.
And it's easy to blame the teenage son, and that's what it was.
And it's the kids. It's always the kids, you know, like when, blowhole burns and flipper marks. Oh, I blame rowdy teens. You know, that sort of thing, right? That's but anyway, so now they've gone from blaming gamers for making the NBN bad. To offering a $10 per month product to make games faster. And
the worst part as well is Telstra's the only one with Series X's at the moment. If you want a Series X, you basically got to go sell your soul to Telstra. Don't do it.
They're not a wise company. but
I mean, you look at Zikowski and fucking Soltrio have still been sniffing around the carcass of Australian telecommunications for decades now and taking what they can from it. If there was ever people that it would benefit the NBN very quickly if a meteor fell on their head, a really fast metal meteor, it would be those two.
For some reason, 5G speed is way faster. It's strange, like they held it back. Anyway, now let's see. Super Nintendo World opens February 4th. It's in Tokyo, isn't it?
Which one, sorry?
Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, it's in Osaka.
Oh, sorry. Well, Japan's only one city. I went there.
We've just ruined it. We've ruined any potential.
You just walked me around. I didn't know where it was.
We're talking about geopolitics. He's like, it's all the same place. We went to Osaka, got a bit of Sashi beer. Love the Asashis. Bit of Goiza.
Anyway, so Osaka.
Yeah, a bit of beef black bean. Yeah, it was fine.
I actually see when I fresh out of uni, I actually got a job in Singapore, and I had to go live in Singapore for a little while. And when I left, I thought, because I was a big fan of the Chinese restaurants as a uni student, and I thought I'm going to be eating lemon chicken and beef and black bean sauce for the rest of my life, and prawn crackers. I thought, this is going to be so good. I got there and I lived with a family
and stuff like that.
I lived with a family for a while that had a Sri Lankan maid, and she used to cook me authentic food, and it was like, oh my god, it's nothing like what
you can't handle Japanese like coffee, let alone anything. Yeah.
Singapore is Chinese food, but there's but it was pretty
but Singaporean hawker food, it's very similar to Japanese in that way. It's just got more curry because of the Indian influence, so Indian and Thai influence and stuff like that. So.
Every time I got a bill, it'd be in 4 languages: Malay, I think Indian, and one of the Chinese.
Mandarin,
and English. Yeah, but there's also heavy French.
Yep.
Every place had baguettes and shit.
Yeah,
anyway,
I had someone the other day call it Indochina instead of Vietnam, and I'm like, damn, when was this? 1960? Vietnam was French Indochina. That was why the Americans went in.
And then they headed over to Kampuchea.
That's twice. Yeah. That's twice the Yanks have done that. Backed up the French doing that. That was Vietnam, and that was Libya. There you go. We went in there to save the French.
Yeah, that was back when they started a war, and they lied about it. And thank God that hasn't happened since. So anyway, so anyway, they're opening some new Super Nintendo worlds.
Yes.
Now this is pretty cool. Hopefully, I get the places right. So Orlando.
Yeah.
Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And Singapore.
Yes, all the places that have Universal Studios.
There you go. So there's going to be 4 Super Nintendo worlds, and they look really cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? If we ever do travel things to Japan as part of New Game Plus, we should probably go there.
No, look. The thing with it is, so Universal Studios has always done those crossovers. They had the Attack on Titan one, which is great, which had like the big Titan. You got the photo in his hand and stuff like that, and they had like the string, like it was like a bouncy castle thing with like the springs that you pretend that you were like flying through the air as like a recruit. They've always done cool shit like this. So to see them go in with Nintendo Nintendo at this point are like, we joke about Valve. Valve don't make games, they make money. It's like Nintendo don't make games, they make everything else.
They got so much money that
more money than God.
They could actually.
They don't have. It's not market capitalization. It's not market cap. It's not all that kind of
money in the bank.
It is legitimately hard cash. They have tons of it. It's the same with Apple.
It's like, the Wii.
Oh, can't wait for Apple to fail. Wouldn't matter if they did. They could run at a loss for 20 years and they would still have
I think it's longer than that. I'm pretty sure Apple and Nintendo
Nintendo's 41 years.
Is it 41? Yeah, and they could...
They had a loss the other year, and it was like they could run at that loss
for
the next 41 years, and that's when they hit $0.
Yeah, it's all... And then Nintendo's money is all from the Wii. It really printed money for them.
They only just stopped making...
It cost nothing to make.
They only just stopped making the Wii version of Just Dance last year.
It's ridiculous.
That's how much the normies love the Wii.
So Super Nintendo World, and in fact, keep an eye out, because if we ever get to travel internationally, then New Game Plus will probably have their travel thing back on board. Yes. Probably go there. So anyway, which should be really, really cool. It looks fun. Have a look for the pictures online if anyone hasn't seen it. All right, now I've run out of news.
We're coming up to an hour.
Yeah, I was trying to time it actually. We're up to now New Game Plus Game of the Year. Now everybody's been releasing their Game of the Year picks on Facebook.
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow night. It's going to be on TV. Yeah. Oh, I wonder what it is. Wow, is it a AAA game? Is it a big AAA game?
Depends.
Released this year?
Yeah.
No,
Cyberpunk wasn't out. So
sorry?
That's fine.
So it's not Cyberpunk. It could be anything.
Don loves Hades, so you never know.
Well, have a look for what comes second and third, because that'll be the surprise. But anyway, the New Game Plus Game of the Year episode is on tomorrow night in Melbourne.
There's some other interesting tidbits in there. Friday Adelaide,
cool.
Yeah, some other interesting news for you in that too. We can talk about that next week if we do one for.
Oh really?
Post Christmas.
I now have to watch. All right, cool. And anything else coming up soon?
Obviously, we'll start back up streaming. Filming episodes will be off for a couple of months, so we won't be doing that. But we will be obviously start populating content for the channel. I might stream Christmas Eve. We'll see how I'm feeling. Otherwise, yeah.
We're doing a Christmas Eve stream for people who don't like their families.
Yeah, so I do Us Ras, like I always do. Like a story of redemption and resurrection.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice and appropriate.
Yeah.
So cool.
and then you get to go punch God in the face. Like,
and you could play Deus Ex.
That's a very similar story. That's true. Well, I mean, Deus Ex 2 is him. You go get him from the AI center where he's like plugged in, and that is literally like rolling back the stone of the tomb, and it doesn't matter. No one played Deus Ex 2. It's fine.
I actually bought all those, and I've never played it. I got Snowblind as well, which is apparently
it's similar. It's tied into the universe. Yeah.
But I got that one on iPad with the Australian main character. That was garbage. So anyway, I'd rather play Avengers. Anyway, all right, cool. Now let's. That's it. That's a wrap. We're done. You got anything else to add?
Have a nice Christmas if you celebrate it. If you don't, then just like it's
Festivus.
Happy Festivus. It's like I used to have Jewish friends growing up. It was like, hope the Chinese food's good because I'm in Glen Waverley and that's what I'll be having for Christmas Eve dinner and probably Christmas dinner as well. Some fantastic Chinese food, a succulent Chinese meal.
Yep. In Japan, don't they have KFC?
They do KFC and strawberry shortcake. If KFC's open, I'll do Japanese Christmas. We'll see.
Yeah, do a Japanese one. So, hey, if you don't believe in it, have KFC for Japanese Christmas.
Sport, it's good
cool.
strap.
All right, cool. And that's a wrap. We'll be back. Actually, Simon just said something quickly. See what he said before you
have
go.
Have a great Christmas.
Thanks, Simon. You have a great Christmas as well, Simon. Big hello to everyone in the chat. Oz, Dallas. I can't see who else is there scrolling up. But thanks a lot for everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week.
I'm flying for next week.
We'll see you all next week on Facebook Live recording. Otherwise, if you're listening to this, see you all on iTunes or Spotify or wherever.
Sounds good.